Yes, people. Monday night, 10 o'clock. It's grounded football. It's Liverpool grounded football. That intro always brings a smile to Doug's face for some reason, but it does. But I'm not complaining. It's quite nice that it does. So big welcome to two guests with a third to follow. I hope, Rack, if you're seeing this, join in. You're meant to be here. We have a debutant tonight, Gems Cop Talk. Gems has got a recent channel, which we'll get her to explain a little bit about now, and it's Gems' debut on the show, and she's joined us for a Q&A, so that'll be interesting, where we're going to get some questions amongst the panel, and hopefully some of the guys who tune in will send some as well. So here he is. Fashionably late. Okay, buddy?
Can you? Yeah, I've just hurt my back. I just pulled my back somehow.
Right.
So I'm a little bit uncomfortable.
Right, take it easy.
Sorry.
Get yourself in a comfortable position. Little intro. Gems, this is Rack. Rack, this is Gems.
Evening.
Hey, how you doing?
You may have seen Cop Talk appear on social media quite a bit in the last couple of days. The production and the artwork's really, really good. So Gems is up front and centre for that. So I managed to coerce her onto our channel for a Q&A, which would be pretty cool. So Gems, tell us a little bit about your channel, because everyone's heard what we do. They want to hear what you're doing.
So we originally started out as a sports channel. We're called FTB Sports. That's kind of like the daddy channel. And then we've branched off into fan channels, separate ones. We've got a Man United one, Arsenal, Spurs, and we've just recently branched off as the Liverpool one. We're called Cop Talk. And last week was our first week. Pretty full on. I think we did 5 or 6 shows. It was a bit of a blur. You can find us on Twitter. It's Cop Talk, YNWA, You Never Walk Alone. And yeah, we're just looking for, us Copites. We support each other. I'm looking to support other Liverpool podcasts. I just think it's a really nice community and just love talking about football ultimately. So that was kind of why we've created it. Excellent.
Thank you for that. So guys, here's how it's going to work out, because there are some of you watching already and there's already comments coming through. This is going to be a Q&A. I've tasked these guys with coming with 5 or 6 questions to ask another member of the panel, and how this will work is the person who answers the last question will then ask the next one of somebody else. That said, it's not exclusive to the panel. If you're watching and you've got something you want to ask one of us, drop us a comment. I'll put it on screen and we'll do our best to answer it. And we'll even discuss some of the answers in a bit more depth if we think there's some validity in that. So I'll start just to make it easy. And as Gems has joined us, I'm going to ask Gems the first question. Obviously, Bristol seems to be where you're from. Is that right?
Yeah, Bristol. Yeah. Bristol City.
What makes you a Liverpool fan? What were your influences that made you decide to be a Liverpool fan?
Okay, so I always feel like the Bristol teams are all in different leagues anyway, so I support all the Bristol teams. But growing up, had all boy cousins, and my favourite boy cousin was a Liverpool fan. I used to follow him around everywhere, and my auntie and my uncle, they were massive Liverpool fans, so I was just kind of like following suit. I think I got to a certain age, started watching it a bit more, and I think I was just in love with Robbie Fowler, to be honest. I can remember I got the shirt, the green and white, Carlsberg, big box on it, wore it till the Carlsberg was falling off. My mum threw it away, I cried. So yeah, that was it pretty much. It was instilled from family, but I just loved the whole atmosphere and yeah, loved the way we played.
By the way, that's a great choice of shirt, that, by the way, that green and white one.
That was
always
my first.
Takes me back to Old Trafford when he belted one in the top left-hand corner and then sat Gary Neville down when he chipped Peter Schmeichel. And as much as I like Robbie, I didn't love him. I can't share that with you.
Okay.
But he's a super cool guy and he's been a tremendous footballer. So, Gems, your first question to anyone on the panel.
Okay, I'll ask Douglas just because he was here first. I mean, this is kind of more on the football related. How do you see Harvey Elliott's role progressing throughout the team?
I think he'll be a first team starter, in all honesty. I mean, the way he started the season, I think it was quite a surprise to actually, see him in the first team sheet. But if you actually think about it, he has been very, very good. Unfortunately to get that injury, but I think he'll come back bigger, stronger, and probably more aggressive as well. I've been very impressed with Harvey, and he's got a bright future ahead of him.
Do you see him in the next few years like a bit of a Gerrard? You know, like
a little bit, yeah.
What kind of role in a couple of seasons? You know, as he ages.
I think you'll probably see him at the pivot of the just behind the front three.
Yeah,
I think that's a good conversation piece. I certainly see him more central than I do where he was playing before. I think he's got the ability to do that. He's got wonderful balance, can go off either foot, and that's Coutinho-esque the way he travels with the ball, which I quite like. And as much as I think Coutinho let the club down, I don't think you can discredit his ability. What do you think, Rack? What do you see for Harvey Elliott in the future?
You know what? So I didn't watch much of him, or I didn't watch any of him when he was at Blackburn, apart from the odd goal and the odd assist here and there that you sometimes catch. I didn't watch any of Blackburn last season, so I haven't really got a big body of work to base any opinion on. But all I can say is from the few minutes he played this season, he just looked like a real gem. I mean, his intelligence, and that's the thing that a lot of young players don't have. His ability to be calm under pressure, make the right decisions when they need to, and also the confidence with which he settled into Premier League football. You know, it's almost unheard of that someone does that, and so yeah, that bodes well. Absolutely. I mean, I've only really seen him play as an 8, so I don't think I can realistically say I'd like to see him elsewhere, but. Yeah, he's got everything. He was great at pressing, calm under pressure, good passer, and just mature beyond his years. So I can see him filling in that right side 8 role in the long term. And sky's the limit when you can adapt so quickly and you've got that much composure. There's no limit to what the kid can do. And it was a shame that he got injured as early as he did, but I guess some of us thought it was going to be a really long injury, and it seems like from what the rumours are coming out that he will be back towards the end of the run-in. So if we can get him back in kind of February, March time, he could be pivotal in the last quarter, last third of the season. So but one step at a time. Focus on getting fit. And then if he comes back, then we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Just to close on that, I really like the way his awareness of where his teammates are, because you can play the ball into his feet. There's nothing on. He just uses the outside of the right or the left boot just to shift the ball into the path of somebody else. So one of the things you always look for in young footballers is awareness of where their teammates are and awareness of their own space. And I think he's got that in abundance. So it's a really good question. Really good
and that's natural, isn't it? Like, you can't teach that to a player, and he runs with his head up, which is what a lot of players, even as they age, can't do. I like that. I think he's got a great coach, hasn't he, Klopp? I think the Klopp influence gives him that confidence. Just I'm playing at Anfield, it's all right, just playing football. But I love the Trent, Elliot, Salah trio. That's kind of been my highlight of the season so far. Unfortunately, it's ended, but that was my favourite little setup. It will be back.
No, he's going to be a risk taker, isn't he? I think that's what he's going to be in the team. He's going to be one of the risk takers, because rightly or wrongly at the moment, our playmaker and our risk takers are right back, and that just feels a bit lopsided at times, doesn't it? So it'd be nice to have someone else. And Keita can do that, but Keita just needs to stay fit and stop being attacked by blades of grass. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
He survived, the international break.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Doug, you were asked the last question, so it's your turn to ask somebody else.
I'll ask Rack this. I'm going to give you a very interesting question. Is there any place in this team next season for Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, or do you think he's going to leave?
Look, I would even go as far as say not even in the summer, probably in January. I don't think there is a place now. I think, unfortunately for him, his injuries have been or the injury, the main injury that he did against Roma, has been so extensive that it doesn't look like we're going to see that Ox anymore. And it's a real shame because I had my doubts about him, but in that second half of the season when he started playing the year he arrived, he was playing some great stuff. Like I remember performances against City, the performance against Roma until the point he got injured. I thought, you know what, we've got a real player here, and I hadn't seen it because I hadn't seen that player when he was at Arsenal. Because even at Arsenal, he was shifted about and played on as a wing back and as a full back and all this kind of stuff. So I don't think that player is there anymore. And then at that point, we have to decide: can we use him elsewhere? And also, he has to decide: is it worth maybe trying to get minutes elsewhere? Because him making the odd 5-10 minute sub appearance is probably not good for him. It's probably not good for Liverpool.
I don't see him ending back at Arsenal. I think that ship has sailed. I just don't see him being back at Arsenal. I could probably see him maybe going to maybe a Wolves or somebody like that, or even Newcastle, because I believe that his girlfriend lives in Newcastle, doesn't he? Perry Edwards. So I could probably see him at Newcastle potentially.
Yeah, I mean, I in terms of his destination, I don't really know, but I just don't think that his future lies at Liverpool, unless, I mean, the only thing that has crossed my mind, just because he played a while as a wing back and I think as a full back on a couple of occasions for Arsenal, is I did wonder whether there was a possibility of him being able to deputise for Trent. But it's a bit of a stretch. Like, he hasn't played in that position for such a long time. He would bring a very different skill set to the right back role compared to what Trent brings. So that's the only way. But I think that's a bit of a stretch. So yeah.
What about you, James? Your thoughts? Because I've been quite vocal in the past about Oxlade, so these guys know my feelings. But regards you, what do you think?
So I don't know if these rumours are true with him complaining about minutes, but we've done a show about it. It actually annoys me because if you count up, he has actually had a lot of minutes this season so far. We've rotated a lot. He played, I think it was the whole EFL game, didn't he? He has been subbed on, I think, versus AC Milan or Porto. He was subbed on. It was like 60 minutes. So it's not just 10 minutes sub on. He's getting minutes. And there are other players that are in that same position as him. Yeah. Now, when he has been subbed on, I'll throw it back to Harvey Elliot. So Harvey Elliot started a game. He then had a first team spot because he made such an impact that he was unbenchable. Has Ox come in and done that? No. Has he come in and done anything that we've been like, wow, we need to make sure we start him? Not particularly. So I don't see how he could complain that he's not being started and he's just a bench player. This is Liverpool Football Club. We need people as bench players. We are going to be rotating the season. He is going to get minutes. Is it a case that he wants to be star man, star of the show, getting the first team spot every game? Or is this just rumors? Is this just the media trying to cause friction within the squad? Because to me, he seems very happy. A lot of our kit photo shoots, it's him, isn't it? Like on a boat. He's the one wearing all the different shirts, looking all happy, posing up. He's just had a baby. He seems very settled to me, and he will get minutes. You look at Minamino. If anyone should be complaining about minutes, it's that poor guy. He went out on loan. He's come back. He had an amazing pre-season, as did Ox. They are getting minutes. But you look at the team, it's a tough team to break into. We've got 10 midfielders. He's got to fight for his spot. So when he does get these minutes, it's all down to him in training and on the pitch when he does come on to stand out and make himself unbenchable, ultimately. I think for him and Keita this season, it is the now or never.
Yeah,
I agree. If it comes to the end of this, then it's up to them if they want to carry on being the bench players, or will they just be another Shaqiri and we'll ship them off?
Good shouts, and good content there, guys. I think it's a crossroads for Oxlade at the moment, and he's got some decisions to make. I think he's got more decisions to make than the club have. I think they'll keep him because of his versatility, maybe. But I think footballers ultimately want to play games, not cameos for 20 minutes. And by the end of the season, he might make a decision, but we'll see. But in the meantime, whenever he plays, we'll all get behind him because that's what we do when they put the red shirt on, don't we? So, Rack, it's your question, mate, to anyone on the panel.
I'm going to go with you, Steve. Champions League final, playing against, let's say Chelsea, someone with at least has a reputation of being a solid defence. Which front three do you go with? I mean, obviously, Salah and Mane are given. Do you start with Bobby or do you go with Jota?
Against Chelsea, I go with Bobby, and the reason why is Bobby's tried and tested in the big games. And you and I have spoken about this together on pods, and I've spoken about this away from grounded football. Whilst Jota's very good, Bobby's much better at occupying the deep line midfielders in terms of when we haven't got the ball, he goes to stand in the space where they want to play. So, for instance, ask Rodri and Jorginho how much fun it is to play against Bobby Firmino, mate. I don't think either of them will tell you it's fun because he's very, very clever. I talked about this before and may have spoke about it briefly last week. For me, Jota is competition for Mane as opposed to competition for Firmino. We still haven't got that. And I would hope at some point maybe a Harvey Elliot could have a go at doing that because he certainly sees enough of the game to be a link player. What Bobby does that Jota can't do is Bobby's used to playing with people in the 360 circumference around him, so he's very aware of the full scope, whereas Jota's used to having the touchline as a friend, so there's not generally somebody behind him. It's a very difficult skill to teach somebody. It's a very difficult skill to teach somebody in a Liverpool team to be the pinnacle of and the start of the press and be the guy that sets the traps. So when you lay it out like that, the amount of work that Bobby gets through is astronomical. And I personally have to be honest, I was questioning his position in the team last year when he went through some indifferent form as being polite. But he seems to have turned a corner and he's got a bit of spring in his stride. And what happened at the weekend, although the collective total yardage for those goals is about 2.5 yards off the goal line, 3 goals, a hat-trick from 6 inches, every single one of them, that's great. His confidence will go through the roof. And I think that's massive for him, massive for the club. And if he chips in with 12, 15 goals, Mane gets his usual 20 and Salah goes on and gets 20 to 30. When they're handing out awards at the end of the season and trophies, I think Liverpool will be in the running, mate. So, good question. I still trust Bobby to do that role. Gems, your thoughts on that? And I'll come to you in a minute, Doug, for a thought on that.
I love Bobby. I absolutely love Bobby. And I hate when he gets criticised and attacked and people talk about goals. The 3 goals he scored the other day were your typical number 9 striker goals. Come on now. They were in the box. He was there. He was where he was meant to be. Right place, right time. He was there, ready. Some of those goals I've seen already this season, strikers fluff those kind of goals, a few yards off the touchline. It goes up and over and you think, how did they miss that? I've seen Jota doing that. Let's be honest now. Jota, in Bobby's role, he's missed some sitters, absolute sitters. That is not his position. He is not comfortable there. I mean, as a fan, personally, I believe he doesn't like that role. I can see it. I can feel it when he plays there. I think, can you remember when he first started playing with us? Because then he got injured, didn't he, for like 12 weeks. So we'd play with Mane, Bobby, Salah, and he would kind of play behind Mane in the midfield because people kept saying, oh, you're going to bench Mane. But he actually stayed on the pitch and we had him in the midfield and he was banging in goals. He was breaking goal records in that first stint and then got injured. So I would always, if Bobby's available, I would always start with Bobby. I think that front trio, you look at their numbers so far this season, it is back. I think Mane has missed Bobby. Just look at how much more comfortable they look. And it's just obvious now to see what Bobby does for Salah and Mane as well. He just brings that little bit of an edge. I just don't like Jota in that position. I don't think it's natural, like you said, for him. I don't think it suits him in any way. Klopp mentioned he was training Ox as a false 9, so it really confused me when Bobby was out why he didn't put Ox in that position and he kept putting Jota there, because Jota wasn't effective at all in that position. I think the only real goal he got was header, wasn't it? That I can think of that stands out. But I would always start with Bobby just for the work rate he does up and down the pitch as well. He's got skills for days, hasn't he? You could clip little bits of Bobby's passes, and even in Salah's wonder goal versus Watford, he was kind of critical in that because his movement helped confuse the players as well. The Watford defenders, he kind of slid the ball in for him. So he's just naturally gifted in all areas. Yeah, big Bobby.
Good shout. I was going to come to you for the same thing, Doug, but I'm not going to because I think this is a really good question that's on screen. So I'm going to go to all of us to give us an answer. As Liverpool fans, is this the best you've witnessed? I'm old enough to remember the 70s and 80s and the Barnside crop are up there. So, Doug, think of a season, think of a year that you might think is your best Liverpool team and tell me why.
Probably the 2018-2019 team, in all honesty. I think I'm probably the 1920 team. Just those couple of years, I mean, yes, we didn't strengthen as much, but you could see the squad was together as a whole, and we won literally everything: Premier League, Champions League, European Super Cup, and obviously the World Club Cup. And that squad was one of the best. So for me, it's probably the 2018-19/20 team.
Okay, Rack, yours?
Look, this is the best team that I've ever seen play for Liverpool. At the same time, I want to give a special mention to the 08-09 team. We lost 2 games that season and finished second behind, in my opinion, the best United team in the Premier League era. That midfield of Mascherano, Alonso and Gerrard was incredible. We had prime Torres. There were a couple of holes, areas where we weren't quite as strong, but we played some great football that season. No more so than spanking Man United 4-1 at Old Trafford. And actually spanking. And I think the week before or 2 weeks before, we beat Real Madrid 5-0 on aggregate in the Champions League. Like that, when you think about that, Real Madrid getting knocked out 5-0 on aggregate. I don't think enough credit and I don't think enough is spoken about how good that team was. And it was only because United had a great team, and we drew a few too many games that season. And one of the games we lost was against Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough got relegated.
Yeah.
I was at that game.
Oh man,
Doug, I could classic Liverpool, wasn't it?
This is not the time to admit that, mate.
I can actually say I was at that game. Yeah. I don't know how we managed to get tickets, because obviously I know getting away tickets to any Liverpool game is really difficult. But we managed to get tickets, and it was in the home end, unfortunately. So that was even worse. And it was Alonso OG, and I think it was Tunkai. Was it Tunkai? I think that scored that day.
Yeah.
It was like 4-4 against Arsenal, like 2-2 against Hull. It was those kind of games that's kind of lost us the title that season. But
that was our signature for ages, wasn't it? I feel like we had that kind of stigma for so long. We'd win these big games and then we'd go and we'd just mess it up.
But just going into obviously Rack talking about Real Madrid and Manchester United, that was probably all Andrea Dosena's best week in a Liverpool shirt. Scoring 2 goals.
I think that you're right, Rat. I mean, we won the away leg 1-0. Yossi Benayoun scored, and then on the night at Anfield, I remember Steven Gerrard coming onto a ball that was waist high, and his body position and strike was tremendous. And I don't think I'm wrong in saying, but for Iker Casillas, Liverpool might have won that game 10-0 because he was the man of the match by a country mile. Yeah. And he really proved why he was one of the best goalkeepers in the world on that night. But that was a special team, you're quite right. So I'll come to you, Gems, before I get nostalgic because I'm older than you guys and I'll be able to go back a bit further.
Yeah.
So
I can't believe how good your guys' memories are. Like, my memory is not great at all. Like, I can't remember all these exact games and stuff. I have like captured moments, but yeah, when you're talking about the 08-09, you know, just hearing like Alonso, Gerrard, Mascherano, Torres, just hearing that team automatically gets you excited, doesn't it? I think if we'd had, you know, a Virgil and a Becker, things we could have done. Even the season that we had Suarez, you know, so close. We were so good, but our defense was just crap. So crap. The combination. So yeah, I think this is the first time since I can remember watching football that, you know, we've had the great attack, but with a good defense and a great goalkeeper. I don't think in the time I've been alive, we've had a great world-class necessarily goalkeeper that you feel really safe with. So I think this is the team now currently playing right now that I feel, yeah, this is it. But, you know, nostalgia, 2005 Champions League. I felt like that team just dug it out that season. You know, we weren't the best, but we were just digging out results. But it's not always necessarily the season that you did great things, is it? It's just the team that you felt the most like, yeah, they had a lot of passion and fight. But this guy that's the comment, Amundi, I have to shout out to him as well. He's from our FTV Sports Man United channel, Man United Agenda. So he said he'd come on and support me tonight.
He's good. He's good value.
He is great.
My team would be the 84 Liverpool team that won the European Cup. And we had a street party as soon as the game finished. I can remember it well. 84 away at Roma, where the players sang the Chris Rea song. I don't know what it is, but I like it, in the tunnel. And the Roma players were looking at him as if to say, what the hell's going on here? This was in their backyard. They had 80,000 people in the stadium. Phil Neal scored early on. So we have had a right back that played in advanced positions before Trent. It's not that alien to Liverpool. And then a guy called Prutzi equalised. Obviously, we know about the Grobler wobbly legs, and then Alan Kennedy won it with the penalty. That was for lots of different reasons. That team did a treble that year. They did the League Cup, and the European Cup. So when Man United say we did the first treble, they did the first treble, including the FA Cup. We did it with the League Cup. So the things they say they've done, we've already been there and done that. Sorry, mate. The Man United family.
They filter it to suit, don't they?
Yeah, but that team was special, and that was the last game Graham Souness played in a Liverpool shirt, which as a young man, a teenager, him signing for Sampdoria was the first football transfer to break my heart, because that guy used to win football matches by himself. He was an absolute colossus. You did not cross Graham Souness, he would destroy you physically and on the pitch. He could play as well. So then I could go on. Ian Rush, Kenny Dalglish,
John Barnes.
What more is there to say? Barnes wasn't in the squad at that time. Craig Johnston and players like that were in the squad. The Australian guy with the long permed hair. So it was absolute quality, but there's merit in all of the teams that you've just said. The 2005 team, I look at the team sheets and I still can't believe we accomplished that. When you look at AC Milan's team sheet, it's like a game of Championship Manager, isn't it? No one has a right to put a team out that strong. And in the first half,
that team had heart.
Kaka absolutely destroyed us in the first half, and then when Haman came on, he sat in the pocket of space that Kaka was using, and it all changed. But that's a different show. I'm sure we'll get to that at some point with the European Cup part of the show. So it's my question, and I'm going to ask you, Doug. What's your favourite, Istanbul aside, because Istanbul is everybody's favourite game? Pick out two games as a Liverpool fan, quickly summarise why they were so special to you, and tell us a little bit about the fixtures.
Jeez, wow. Put me on the spot. Wow. I
know, I'm thinking that as well.
I'm going to go Borussia Dortmund, the 4-3. I think that game was just incredible. I mean, we went, what was it, 2-0 down at half-time. And then I think Coutinho gets his back straight immediately after like half time. And then Royce scores 3-1. And I'm like, oh no, 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 no. It was just memorable because of what happened next. I think, sorry, Origi scored the first one before Coutinho got the second. And then Sacco, of all people, scored the third. And then Lovren, which was madness. So yeah, that one.
Salah thing as well.
What's that?
Didn't Lovren do the Salah celebration as well?
Oh yeah.
What?
Yeah, that game was just mad. The
The
other one.
Can you remember what Thomas Tuchel said in the press conference after the game?
No.
Because Liverpool do that, don't they? And that was it.
And then I think the second one has to be the Barcelona game. I think it has to be up there with one of Klopp's greatest ever achievements to beat that Barcelona side. And look, we all know what's happened to Barcelona since that game. It looks like they've never, gone out of Anfield.
We broke them. We broke them.
Yes.
Yeah, we did. And, they're a shadow of their former selves as well. But that game was just memorable for all the right reasons. I mean, we had no Salah, we had no Bobby. It was just incredible.
Yeah, it was. It was. I don't know if you've heard the alternative commentary with, I think it's Drury and Shearer. I'm not an Alan Shearer fan. I think he talks absolute garbage, by the way. but
he was loving it.
Yeah, he was absolutely. He was soaking it up. He was injecting it in big time. What a night that was! What an absolute night that was! And that night alone always makes me think of Genie with a heavy heart. He's not with us anymore because that thing when he's running away, Patton. You know what I mean? It's just a quality night all around, wasn't it? It was absolutely brilliant. Two really good games there. The Dortmund game was mental, wasn't it? Because when Royce scored, I thought that was it, done and dusted. Mm-hmm. But you never ever give up, do we? Never give up, as Mo's t-shirt said. Never give up.
I actually lost my voice when the Lovren goal went in. Like I was just screaming for about 5-10 minutes, and my voice is just completely gone.
Yeah.
Well, do you know what? There's great ways to lose your voice, and that's certainly one of them. So, would be your question, Doug?
I've got a very funny one. Who in the current Liverpool team would make a very good all of yous?
Okay.
Right.
Which player in the current Liverpool team would make a very good DJ?
Bobby, of course. Always happy. You could do the kung fu kicks. Has to be Bobby. DJ Bobby. That's my answer.
MC Harvey. I could see Harvey there with his fingers and all that, and then giving it the old decks and stuff. That's a good shout for him. And then there's Rack to share us with who he thinks.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to look beyond Bobby just because if he in terms of his musical selection, if his musical selection reflects his personality in any way, shape, or form, he's going to provide an entertaining night to any party goer. And
but he plays the piano as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He does. Yeah, absolutely. So he's got some musical talent as well.
He's gifted.
Doug.
I mean, if he was still here, I would have probably said Genie Wijnaldum because he always tweeted his playlist, always tweeted what he was listening to, always tweeted what he was going to on away days and to Anfield. So yeah, I would have probably said Genie Wijnaldum, but I agree with Bobby. I think he'd be a very good DJ.
Years ago, I was managing a semi-pro football team, and we had a lad come to play for us. His girlfriend was a famous pop star. So we got SCD in the changing room before the game. So when the lads came in, we had the Sugar Babes on him because Keisha Buchanan was his girlfriend, and she used to come and watch us play. Mate, he could throw the ball from the halfway line to the corner flag on the other side of the pitch. Mate, it was insane to watch. But yeah, we played the Sugar Babes, and he went absolutely ballistic at us. Right. So, question.
I actually reckon Klopp might have a bit of an eclectic taste in music as well. Like. I think there'll be a bit of kind of German rock and roll in there and a bit of some more melodic stuff. So yeah, I reckon Klopp might have a decent taste in music too.
Or maybe Ox when he's on the bench,
You know what, though, Rack? That's
Make
a really
himself
good
useful.
point. Have you seen Klopp dance? I'm worried he's going to break both his legs with them dance movements he's got, mate. He looks like a stork, doesn't he? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Absolutely
it's
mental.
not his forte.
No. Right, guys, question on screen. Question for the panel. Will we buy anyone in January? Feel free to answer that.
No, move on.
No, I don't think we will.
Too expensive, too desperate.
I think we could do. It depends if the right deal is out there. Apparently, we were looking to do deals in the summer, but yeah, it's difficult to say, isn't it? I mean, even though they're only probably going to be missing for a couple of games. It would be nice to get a little bit of extra backup for Bobby and Mane, for Mane and Salah. But I think the club are only really going to buy somebody if they think that they're going to fit into the long-term mould rather than be a backup for a short period of time. So if an Adeyemi, for example, I think we discussed him the other day, Steve, if he was available and the club saw him as a potential long-term target, then maybe they would consider it, but they're not going to bring someone in just for the sake of doing it. So,
and actually, they should with Adeyemi. He's a quality player. I think in January, Liverpool will open contract negotiations with Frank Kessié of AC Milan.
What, the one that we silenced?
The
one that we silenced.
Yeah. Well, he's still a very good player, and he's very.
I know. We were just told, watch out for him. Yeah, we did.
Yeah. We'll see.
I think Klopp knows who he wants. He's not a stupid man. I think he knew he wanted Jota for like 2 years before he signed him. I think we had our eye on somebody, and that's why we didn't sign anyone in the summer. I think Jota is backup for Mane. Salah, essentially, it could have been Elliot in that role. We've also got Minamino. We've got a lot of players in those kind of positions that can move forward. I can't see us filling in any plugs. Well, we've already got so many issues going on. We've got Curtis, Thiago, Minamino, Ox, Jota. There's so many things going on. I think the only position that I sweat over is Trent's.
Yeah. Because when Milner played against City, the creativity wasn't there from that side of the pitch, was it? But he did a good job. But, he should have been on the pitch, really, should he, for the last 20 minutes? We know this. Question from the panel. I'm going to give this one to you, Rack. Question from the panel. How do we keep up the consistency and avoid slipping?
Keep rotating to some extent. I think that's important. I've been quite surprised with how much Klopp has rotated this season, because I know he doesn't normally like doing it too much, but I think he's shown an inkling that maybe he's willing to be a bit more flexible. Perhaps he's been advised to do so. So I think that's going to be part of it. If we can find the right person, bring someone in January would also probably be a good thing if we can find the right player. That will, especially in the forward line, I think an extra player there could be handy in case. I expect there to be a period at least where we may have more than one of them injured, whether that's a game here or there or longer. Remains to be seen. And then just luck. We need a bit of luck. If Chelsea were to lose, I mean, he hasn't scored for a few games. If Chelsea were to lose Lukaku, or if City were to lose KDB, for example, they would miss him. If we lost Salah for a few games, we'd miss him. So everyone's in a similar boat. So everyone will need a bit of luck. But we're no different.
No, it's a fair comment. I think the rotation is key. You might be getting bits of information about players' fitness. What it does suggest is the Twitter meltdown about depth of squad wasn't felt by the club in the way that it was by Twitter. But we know this. We're always going to get the FIFA virgins and the wet wipes who come out screaming, shouting about not signing this person, they're not signing that person. But that's cool. That's what social media is for. It's for people to rant and rave and shout about things. So back to the question, Gems. Second question for somebody, please.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to say with Nico Williams. So it was kind of put to me on a show the other day. Whether he should be put out on loan? Personally, I think he's too old now to send out on loan for a season. I think he needs to stay at the club. Is he going to ever be at the level that he will be back up for Trent? Should this season be the season when he starts getting minutes, not just when Trent's out, but subbed on in games like he was the other day, but more often, when we've got EFL Cup games, or if a game, we're winning the game comfortably, like Man City did with Foden, like we did with Curtis, should we start treating Nico the same way? I mean, he came on and got an assist versus Watford. Would he ever be good enough to cover for Trent? Do we need to replace him? I think the only way is getting him out there and getting him minutes on the pitch myself.
It's an interesting one, isn't it?
You guys think?
I'm not convinced that he's got long-term future at the football club. I don't see him as a backup to Trent. Because what Trent does down the right-hand side is different to every other right back in the world right now. We've talked about
no one's ever going to be that.
No, they're not, and that's parcel of what we do, and we see lots of people digging him out for so-called defensive frailties. You can't be that good in the final third and be a world-class defender at the same time. That can't work. So I think. Did you see the
save? Did you see the tackle he did the other week?
Yeah.
Virgil did the exact same tackle and got called like world class for the tackle.
Yeah, there's an agenda. We know this.
Nobody mentions it. Mentions it. He can defend. It's just a rumor. Yeah, I get heated.
I think Nico will leave the club in the summer. Any of you boys got any different views on that?
I think you're right. I think it's a shame with Nico because, or Nico. How do you pronounce it?
Nico.
Either or. I'll be different and say Nico. But I'm gonna be honest. Like I remember the game against Brighton where I think he's kind of rash. And I think we've seen with the Wales squad that he's actually been played as a sort of a right midfielder rather than a right back. So I wonder if his position is actually going to change. But for me, I don't think he's going to be at the club. I think there was talk that he could be going to Southampton or Burnley in the summer. That obviously didn't materialise. But I think his time has come to leave the club, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it was... I thought it was an interesting choice to bring him on at the weekend because I would have thought maybe if they wanted to give Trent a rest and we've still got Gomez there who hasn't really played very much and it did make me think okay, now that Williams is back fit, could he he's not going to do the same as Trent, but could he be a player who deputises more for Trent than we expect? We need to see more because I don't think there's enough evidence of that at this stage. I did think it was curious that he got the nod ahead of Gomez, for example, who I thought maybe they'll just bring him on just to kind of give him a few minutes because he's been on the bench a lot and he's played there before and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, interesting.
Maybe it's because Klopp trying to put a final nail in the Danny Rose coffin from the game because if Nico turns you inside out and gets you this, mate, you get on the bus and go home and don't come back again, don't you? So, interesting question, 100%. So, I put a question on screen. James, I'm going to give that one to you. Question for the panel: what's Liverpool's strongest back four?
Is there any question? There's no question, is it? It's Trent, Matip, Virgil and Robertson. Like, that is it. Simple as. And I'd have to say at the moment, Matip's the best centre-back in the Premier League, in my opinion. He's got like the third highest rate of dribbling in the whole league, including every player. Do you know what I mean? Like, this guy is just something else. Him and Virgil together as well, that combination, there's so much chemistry there. It's, yeah.
Here's an interesting one.
Any question?
Anyone want to take that? Because I'm not sure the angle that one comes in at. Because I never thought Harry Kewell amounted to much in a Liverpool shirt.
I mean, my memory's pretty horrific. I think there's so many
No.
ifs and ifs in football. You can't go back and say if this and if that. There's just too many. But yeah, no,
I'm just trying to think which, because Kewell was brought in by Houllier, wasn't he? And I'm just trying to think in that period, when did we really come close? I think there was a year where we were semi-close and United beat us 2-0 at Anfield. I think it was maybe 2003 or 2002, perhaps. Possibly. I mean, I'd have to look back and see what Kewell's impact was that season. I know that he was. My memories are that he was a bit underwhelming throughout his Liverpool career. He was brilliant. Like when for Leeds, I thought he was magnificent. And when we signed him ahead of a lot of other clubs, and I thought that he was going to be a difference maker. I don't know if I thought that he was going to be the guy that could potentially get us to challenge or win the league, but I did think he was a top quality player. I remember there was a game where we played against Leeds, and I think Leeds beat us 5-4 at Elland Road. That was a mad game, like one of the maddest games. And I remember Kewell and Viduka being instrumental in that game.
4-3.
He's saying
sorry?
that
4-3.
It was 4-3.
4-3.
He's saying the 05, 06, 08, 09 seasons at the bottom there. But I think our issues were defence. It wasn't necessarily the attack in those seasons.
Kewell was away before then, wasn't he?
But he was talented, Kewell, and it was a shame it didn't quite work out. I mean, even him coming off in the final kind of ended up working to our advantage to some extent. So, talented, but it's a shame.
Did we not sign him off the back of a really serious recuperation from an ankle injury at Leeds, where he really bad one? I don't think he ever recovered his form for Leeds. I think that's why they allowed him to leave.
Yeah, I mean, he scored a fair few crackers from outside the box, but didn't really inspire me as a Liverpool signing, unfortunately.
I mean, we're sat there like, if he was that instrumental, we would remember.
That's very true.
We would be sat there like, oh my God, yeah, we missed him that season. But the fact that we're like, when was he missing again? It just shows he wasn't really missed, was he?
Question from Ravi. I think James has just perfectly summed that up. Our back four picks itself at the moment. I think Konate would be ahead of Gomez if one of the central defenders wasn't to be available, because Joe Gomez really hasn't returned from injury with any form, and it's difficult you're not getting minutes. I get that, but Virgil's come back and not like he's been away, and that's a measure of the man. So I think it's absolutely. And with regards to Milner, what do we think, panel? How long's Milner got left playing for Liverpool?
20 years.
I think he'll retire 2 seasons ago. I think 2 seasons.
I think this is his last season at Liverpool. To be honest, I think you can see a drop off already. He's not. He can come in for a game or two here or there, but he's not of the standard that we need right now, I'm afraid. So I don't think he'll be at Liverpool beyond this season unless it's in some kind of training capacity or coaching capacity. But would like him to return if he does want to go and play somewhere else. I would like him to return. I think he'll be a good influence on young players and the squad in general.
I'll tell you who could be a good player to replace him with. What's the Villa midfielder called? Is it McGinn? John McGinn?
I don't want John McGinn, mate.
No.
I
think he's a workhorse. I think he's a similar type of player to Milner.
I agree. I
don't think we have Milner just like for what he is. I think we've got him because of his experience and his professionalism and the fact that he can fit so many roles. I don't think McGinn could bring that. I think he'd just be benched. It's
a big step up, Doug, to be fair, to go from sort of doing it for Aston Villa and Scotland and sitting in Liverpool's engine room and being, we'd have to pay a lot of money for him as well. The beauty of Milner is we got him for nothing. So, and City offered him more money to stay, and he just fancied the change and came to Liverpool, and I don't suppose he's going to regret that. He's very well off. He's had a lot of big moves. He doesn't need the money. So, Rack, I agree with you. I'd love to see him come back as a coach, but he won't be doing it for money. He'll be doing it to stay in the game. That's always a little bit of a worry that he doesn't need a career. when he finishes football. But he might not be able to walk away from it. So it would be to our advantage if we could keep him involved. So, Rak, your next question, please, mate.
Next one to Doug. Which player? You can have it one or the other. So, which player have you initially thought would be amazing, and then ultimately ended up letting you down, or didn't reach the heights that you first thought maybe when they broke onto the scene? And or which player broke your heart when they left Liverpool?
Oh, good. Well, to answer the first question, Robbie Keane. I mean, I think we were all disappointed when that did not come off well. I remember when we signed him, and like there was talk that it wasn't a Benitez signing, it was a more board signing. It just didn't really work out for him. I mean, so it would have to be Robbie Keane for me, and it'd have to be Fernando Torres leaving for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Who broke your heart, James?
So obviously, it's Steven Gerrard, isn't it? It's just like, come on, mate, you can play another season. Klopp's coming. I just wanted to see him one more season. That broke my heart. But I can remember going on and on about, I can picture him now. My memory is horrendous. Is it Flanagan?
Oh, John Flanagan. Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember like, he's a little Liverpool lad. He's going to do so well, and then nothing, and it was just that disappointed me. I can remember when I was 13, my first boyfriend bought me. You used to be able to put the little shirts up in the window with the little sticker thing. It had a name and a number on it, and it was Burger. And that was like my first little Liverpool memorabilia to put up in my window, and he was pretty shite when he after.
Oh, he had a great left foot on him. Scored some really, really, really good goals, especially against Chelsea. I think the Xabi Alonso transfer really, really damaged. I was absolutely devastated. Absolutely devastated.
Mascherino.
Yeah, well, as Rak said, that was the best midfield. That was the best midfield in Europe at the time. I'm convinced of it.
Definitely.
So, Doug, question from you, please.
Ooh. Jesus crumbs. I'm gonna do another random one. So, if you had the choice of 5 dinner guests around the table at dinner time, they can be famous or not alive, who would you have and why? This is to all of you.
Liverpool related or
Liverpool related.
Okay. Sure, I thought we were on a different podcast then.
When he was like famous or not famous, I'm like, who's not famous for Liverpool?
Right, so we'll throw names out there and we'll fill up the table. So I'll throw the first name out there. You can't have a Liverpool dinner without Bill Shankly being there, can you?
Yeah,
100%.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Steven Gerrard.
Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah.
I'd have Kenny Dalglish, but I couldn't understand him. He's so thick. Your Scottish accent. Kenny Dalglish is good, but the man's an icon, so you couldn't not have him, could you? And then it's the fifth one. Who would we have as a fifth one? We want someone with a. See, Pepe Reina would be great value at anything like that. He would get up and sing La Bamba at some point, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Did you see the wee video he did? It's like a row of eggs, and then all of a sudden you just see this head pop.
He's a nutter, but I'd like to see him back at the club in the future because he's really, really good for team spirit. And when Villa stayed up and you see him doing all that in the changing room, singing the Bamba with a beer in each hand, what a man he is. Would we have Reina or would we go with somebody else?
I mean,
I'm happy with Reina.
I'd love a bit of Virgil van Dijk, but
I mean, I would like to ask Jersey Dudek how he thought he could possibly get away with saving those penalties when he was about 5 yards off the goal line. Because that was all a bit crazy. So maybe him. But yeah, Pepe
halfway line, wasn't he? Yeah, absolutely mental that.
We'd have to have Bobby DJ in as well,
Yeah, I like that.
What would Bill Shankly make of Bobby Firmino,
Oh my gosh. That combination, my gosh, yeah. Hilarious.
But we wouldn't change Bobby for the world, would we? So yeah, we you know, there's the list's endless, isn't it? You could sit here and discuss that all night about who you'd have.
The vibe would be all the same.
There you go. Look, James
is so well. Do you know what though? If you bring Virg, you'd have to bring Matip because their little bromance.
Oh yeah,
cute. I love it. If you bring those two, it would be hilarious.
Question for us: what former WBA and Real Madrid star helped Liverpool? Could only be Laurie Cunningham, West Bromwich Albion and Real Madrid, surely, couldn't it?
Oh, and Monday, he loves these old school questions. You know, I always take the mick out of him for this. I was free then. I don't know.
I wasn't alive.
My memory is not that good.
We'll see what he says. So I've got a question for you, Rack. Where in the grand scheme of managers does Jurgen Klopp fit in terms of Liverpool Football Club managers? Is he up there with the big two yet? Does he need to do more? How does he compare to Kenny Dalglish as a manager?
Damn, this is a tough one. Look, I think you still have to put Shanks as number one, just because he established and put in place the values and everything that Liverpool is today. And you know, I think we probably lost sight of them for a period of time. I think maybe, you know, lack of success made us kind of chase that a little bit, and Jurgen's obviously brought that back. So I'd still have Shanks as number one because he is the originator, and I think you got to give him that credit, because without him, I don't think that Liverpool would. We don't know, but I don't think Liverpool necessarily would be where they are today. At least they would be very, very different, I imagine.
Yeah.
Paisley achieved great things. Kenny was great. Fagan is obviously gets forgotten about to some extent. Rafa brought us European success. I would have to say, but at the same time, Klopp, after such a long time, even though we had some success with Rafa, Klopp brought the club back to the top in terms of success, but also in terms of the bond that the fans have with the club and with the players. And I mean, it sounds a bit cheesy, but the feel-good factor is something that I've never known, because I wasn't around obviously when Shanks was managing, and even when Liverpool was successful in the 80s and stuff, I was very young, so I don't really remember. And I think you have to be a certain age when you start following football, because I don't think you can necessarily say, "Oh, I was 5 years old and we won this," and remember it in the same way or with the same understanding. So I would have to say that it would be Shanks, Paisley for what he won, and then Klopp for me. Then Kenny, Rafa or Fagan. I don't know. I'd put them maybe on a par. But yeah, at the moment, I put Klopp as third.
I agree. I'd have Fagan over Rafa, because Fagan did that treble we spoke about earlier, and he won a league title as well as a European Cup, which the league title eluded. And he's only manager for one season, and then Dalglish took over. 2 seasons, sorry.
Let's not forget, Klopp was like one game off of a double. Champions League and Prem. You know, people forget that. Yeah, we won the Champions League. We were this close to getting the Prem at the same time. So I think don't forget how consistent Klopp's been as well. And even last season, to me, that speaks volumes of how well he did with the team, with what he had as well. So I think, yeah, definitely he's up there. The consistency, the feel good, he's just everything, isn't he? He's got it all.
Question: do you think Everton would have won the Champions League post '85 without the European ban? I think I'm probably the only one in the room that is able to speak about that. They were a very, very good side, but what people overlook when they talk about this is Liverpool got to a European Cup final in 81, 84 and 85 and were not ready to give up the mantle of Kings of Europe at that stage. Everton would have pushed them all the way. Everton are a very, very good side. What I would say is Gary Lineker was always going to go to somewhere else because Gary Lineker was very self-driven. So I don't think they would have managed to keep hold of him. The lure of Barcelona was just too much for him. So they were a good side. So it's a really good question. But Liverpool wouldn't have been ready to hand over the mantle of the Kings of Europe at that stage. Another question from Ravi. Questions. I'm going to give you each a player. Well, I'm going to give two for here. I'll come to you. And I'm going to come to you, Doug, on Hendo. Is it fair to say Hendo's looking for a bit of form and a bit of fitness at the moment? What's your thoughts on his role in it? Because his injury was very serious, wasn't it?
It was a very serious injury. I don't think he works very well on the left-hand side of that midfield three. I think it has to be right-hand side of the midfield three if he's going to play. I think we've seen, I think it was against Chelsea. I think he wasn't great. Wasn't great against Chelsea. To be fair, he is looking for a little bit of form, but I like Hendo. Obviously, we obviously like Hendo. He's done a lot for the football club. At this moment in time, would he start in our strongest midfield? That's very debatable right now. I think he definitely needs to get a little bit of form before we even consider him being in the midfield for me.
Controversial question to Gems. Would you have sanctioned his contract extension given what we see now and obviously the situation with Ronaldo? Should we have made a precedent for Hendo over Ronaldo?
First, Watford. Henderson made 12 ball recoveries, the highest on the pitch. AC Milan goal was Gerrard-esque. That was next level. That saved us the game. I would not sanction anything on him. I love him. I think he's a great captain. I think if Fabinho wasn't there, he'd be doing that role. But because Fab's there, nobody plays over Fab's CDM. So he's now, I think Klopp's making him play more forward. But I think because we've been missing Bobby and Trent, it's made that role for him harder. So I think now Bobby's back and Trent's back, you will see him back to his best. I don't think it was necessarily his fault or his form. I just think having Milner as right back made his job harder because Trent can turn defence into attack in a split second and whips the balls out. So I've got no problem with Henderson at all. You can bring them. And what game was it? That assist he did from the corner and he slid it over and in. Was that the Porto game? I mean, I think he's quite underrated. He's got a lot of stick this season, but personally, I don't think he's particularly done anything wrong. I think it's just been that, we've missed having Trent and Bobby mostly. That's my opinion anyway. My favourite midfield has been the Elliot, Fabinho and Thiago midfield. That has been my favourite because it was the most exciting, but I still think Henderson has a role to play in this club, and I am glad he's still here. Excellent.
Rack, I'm going to ask you to talk to me about Taki because this point doesn't go away, and I have some sympathy for the guy. Thoughts on Taki, please, mate?
It's a shame that he's not getting more game time, but ultimately, to get into that front four, he's going to need injuries because I don't think, even though he's done okay when he's come on, he's clearly not at the level of the other four. And I think he's had enough time now. It's basically going to be 2 years, I think, in January that he would have been at the club. Obviously, other mitigating factors. He went away on loan for half a season, COVID and all that kind of stuff. I think that's enough time for the club to have seen, or Klopp to have seen, what he's capable of. And so, yeah, I don't think he's got a long-term future at the club. But who knows? Stranger things have happened, and even if he doesn't have a long-term future, it doesn't necessarily mean he can't have an impact this season.
Two goals in the EFL.
Yeah, exactly. So he could as when the EFL Cup returns, he could get more opportunities if we get through the Champions League group early. maybe you might get a game, possibly even a couple of games in the last couple of group games. If, for example, we beat Atletico the next couple of games, we're basically solidified top of the group. I'd give him game time, rest the other guys, and he's still available to make a meaningful contribution.
Yeah.
If we bring in an attacker in the summer, in January, maybe we have to relook at that. And also then it depends on what offers come in for him as well. But it's a shame because there was a lot of enthusiasm because he played really well against us for RB Salzburg. And I think a lot of people thought, you know what, this guy could come in and Liverpool could have pulled another one out of the bag, signed a Bobby replacement or a Bobby light, if you like, and it just hasn't worked out for him. But I do think there is a talented player in there somewhere. It's just consistency, I think, and maybe Liverpool's a little bit above his level.
Excellent response. I'll again, this is like late 80s game.
Areas again.
If you guys haven't seen this on YouTube, you really need to go and find it because Tom Finney was at the game and he described this as the greatest exhibition of football over 90 minutes ever seen. On that night, Steve Sutton played in goal for Nottingham Forest and he was man of the match. John Barnes picked up the ball, isolated Steve Chettle out wide, and the commentator said, "Now just sit back and enjoy this." And he absolutely toasted him. So that Liverpool side, that particular team would have challenged for the Champions League absolutely with a front three like that. That was the season when Aldridge came in to replace Ian Rush, who'd moved on. That was a tremendous performance, that 5-0. And if you haven't seen it, those of you that are watching and those of you that haven't seen it, go and find it because Peter Beardsley does some special things on that night as well. So I absolutely think, I was genuinely believed that they would have had a shout.
I've seen highlights, but that was a while ago. But yeah, I have seen highlights of that game.
Ridiculous. They were so talented, that front three. Beardsley and Barnes and Aldridge came in to replace Ian Rush. Ian Rush went for 3.2 million to Juventus, and the purchases we made were just Dalglish-inspired brilliance. And then Ray Houghton joined as a right-sided midfielder, and between the four of them, they just tore up the league. So I'm going to finish with, we've got one question here now before I finish. Question for the panel: if Naby's fitness coming back, can he get game time? Personally, I think he can. I think he's playing for a contract. He's playing for a contract. That's what he's doing.
And he is getting game time.
And he's playing well.
Yeah.
He's got his press at the weekend was the highest of anybody. He had the biggest press stats at the weekend.
He was very unlucky to not score as well, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. His shot clipped the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to ask you three questions in regards to two biggest competitions. Doug, where do we finish in the league and where do we finish in the Champions League?
Champions League, I'm going to say I think we'll get to the quarters and then I think we'll get knocked out. Premier League, I tell you, if we can keep everybody fit, I would need...
You can't say stuff like that.
If we keep everyone fit, I think we're going to challenge and I think we'll be very, very close to winning it.
I hate these questions.
I'll ask Rack next then when you think about the answer.
We're going to do the double. That's what I'm going to say. We're going to do the double.
Do you know what? I'll take that. Say it with chest like you mean it.
Yeah. Becca is going to be the catalyst.
There you go. Rack, your thoughts on those two competitions and where we finish?
We win both.
Yes.
And I figure,
love it.
I figure if I'm wrong, then at least I'm enjoying it while it lasts. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. We'll win them both next year.
So Douglas, pay attention. This is what we do. All right, this is what we do. And if we don't win it, so what? We've had good time in the process, haven't we? So that's an hour and 10 minutes, guys. It's been a pleasure as always. The comments has been electric again. It's been alive all the way through. So thanks to Ravi, to Oman, to Nico Bean, to LBR Rams, all those guys, Velv, all those people who came in, offered comments. Velv's now on the, the Ndombele train. So you know what we're going to have to put up with now, don't you guys? We're going to get Massively in Dominic comments forever. Yeah, one of those, isn't it? Thanks, James, for coming on. You've been a superstar. We're 100% have you back on. These two guys like the furniture, so they'll be here next week, same as me, and we'll invite other guests. Please pick up their socials and follow them. And if you've got pods, you're watching these and you need guests, I promise you not to look any further than these three. They're all good quality and they come with good content. So thanks everyone for joining in.
Thank you.
Thank you.